2 with AP's Take on the World. I'd like to welcome you guys back for this little journey with me. This week, not as intense, but we're going to talk about some food and what it does to our bodies. So just jumping right into it, it's easy for us to compartmentalize things. I'm actually learning in my personal life how to separate my emotions from what I actually need to get done, or how to use those emotions toward getting shit done. So there's definitely times where we need to compartmentalize, and there's times that we don't. So the biggest non-compartmentalizing thing that I'm going to talk about today is our body. So there's a song that I remember singing when I was little, the knee bone's connected to the maybe hip bone. I'm probably saying that wrong. Don't let your toddler hear that part, you'll have it all mixed up. But everything's connected, right? So today we're going to talk about why it's important what we put into our bodies is actually effective for what our bodies need to do for us on the day-to-day. So there's a lot of complaints about feeling bad or not being able to get out of bed, things like depression, right? All types of things that are ailing us in our daily lives as a society. And as a matter of fact, there are things that we can eat here in America that have been banned in other countries, and so that's interesting to see and hear about. But I kind of want to just kind of drive it home. So I'm going to talk to you guys today how I talk to my family members, because it's important for me, and then I'm going to give you a bit of my personal life and how I've experienced what your intake in food can do for your daily life. So jumping right into that, you are what you eat. I say it a lot. I've heard it a lot, and I've just recently, probably a year and a half to 2 years now, really taken that serious and hammered down. So my first step into this was feeling bad. Before I had moved to Texas, I had this bout with stomach ulcers. I was having to make decisions about a job that I had hoped I would retire from, but there were some things going on at the job that it was just kind of like, you show up, you give it all you got, and sometimes that's just not what it takes. It's just time to step away. And so I literally made myself sick trying to hold on to a job, and it was bad. I was in bed a lot, I cried a lot, I was really tired all the time, and so I went through this battle with my doctor, and I'm telling him, like, my symptoms are this, and it matches up with this that I've read. I'm a reader, I research, like, I overanalyze and overthink anything, but most of the time people gave me a hard time for that, but I would say that it saved me, because in this back and forth with my gastroenterologist, I'm telling him, I think I may have an ulcer. He refused to do the test or, to do what he needed to do to find out if that was in fact the case. He actually kept trying to give me antidepressants. And so I'm telling him, like, bro, I am not suicidal and I'm not having these bad feelings. Like, I'm literally trying to deal with life and still be an effective employee and an effective person. So long story short, I went and I got a second and a third opinion, and so I use this platform called Best Doctors. If you have access to that, use it. If you feel like something's going on, that program is great. So anyhow, they gave me a detailed report. They went and they got all of my doctor's records for me going, in and out of doctor's offices, emergency rooms, and they were like, yeah, we don't know what his problem is, but this definitely sounds like an ulcer. Based on our findings and our research, this is what you need to present to him. So I gave it to him. A couple weeks later, I had the procedure, and he gives me this disappointed look as if he was the one that was battling an ulcer for almost 6 months at this point. He's disappointed to tell me that, in fact, you do have an ulcer, and it's pretty large. And it's like, oh, go figure. And so get the meds and everything worked out, and I felt better. I really did. The meds worked for me. So not to say that medications don't ever work, but I do want you to keep in mind the term moderation. So we got through the stomach ulcer bout and clarified that and I actually got better with my eating habits because of that. It was really hard for me because I used to live on Pepto-Bismol during this time. Like, I thought that was the best thing that I had. I could drink a couple of caps of that and I would get through the day. You know, I was just managing my symptoms and I wasn't really dealing with the root issue, you know, the gut problem. So before the procedure, I couldn't have any Pepto, so there was about 2 weeks that I was just like, there was nothing that I could do besides ride it out. And so thankfully I got through that, but what it did was it made me reconsider things that I was putting in my body. Now, I was good at that for a couple of weeks, but we're all creatures of habit. I'm the same way, even in some other instances, but I stopped eating the really acidic things for a couple of weeks, but then I went right back to it, right? So I ended up feeling bad again. Now, I've always had stomach issues, even since I was a young girl, but I've understood that the stress, where I hold my stress at, is in my stomach, and apparently my hips. When I go get massages, they say that. So, but really getting so bad off that I ended up with this huge ass boil. It was just like a cluster of infection, and I laid in bed like I feel like it was on my deathbed. I don't wish this type of pain on anyone that I dislike, because I don't hate anybody, but it's just like it was the worst pain of my life. I called my mom sobbing, and I called 911 for myself because I was like, I cannot do this. Luckily, I had a roommate at the time, and so by the time I'm calling 911 to actually get an ambulance out to get me, I felt like my body was about to explode and the knot was just in one spot. So my roommate comes in and I'm like, hey, I need you to take me to the emergency room, like it's that bad. And so he gets me, picks me up, and he takes me to the emergency room, and the doctor comes in, looks at the knot, and she's like, what's wrong with you? Like, I don't even have time for you to answer that. We have to get you in surgery right now. So I wake up and there's a tornado coming into Texas. I'm by myself, and I'm just like, man, I really have to get a handle on what I'm doing to my body, or it's not going to be my friend. So what I did after that is I stopped eating meat altogether, because I knew in reflection that anytime I felt bad, it was normally after I ate something. I used to love hamburgers and french fries. So there was a time when I worked at the job that I was desperately trying to make work. I would eat hamburgers and fries like 3 or 4 times a week for lunch or for dinner or whatever, because that was my favorite meal. And it wasn't good for my body at all. So I have all of this red meat on my system, and I'm pretty petite. Like I'm never going to be big. So you guys that are always like, you're so skinny, like it's not gonna happen. My mom and my dad are skinny, so just get over it. But I was putting bad things in my body that my body couldn't work with properly, so that I could feel my best, so that I could perform my best, all of these things. So it's like you're on this hamster wheel and you're running, but you're not losing the weight, or you're not feeling good after your workout. So it's just kind of like you're in this method of put something in my body so that I can keep lurching on and doing what I need to do. So after the surgery, it was kind of like hitting a brick wall, and it was like, so you know these things, but you're not applying these things. And so I really had to sit down and set a plan out for myself. Now, because of feeling bad with the ulcers and things like that, I had cut out pork years ago, before I even came to Texas. And that was mostly not because I felt bad, but because I saw some videos that really stressed me out. And even when I think about it, I'm just like, ew, I can't believe you put that in your body. It's just, it's not good for us. So after that surgery happened, I stopped eating red meat, and I stopped eating chicken and turkey. So the only meat that I eat, quote unquote, is fish. I love seafood. I'm going to eat seafood, and it's just kind of like, I don't want to torture myself where I can't enjoy anything. But again, I go back to that word, moderation. So ways that I got better with my eating, because it's not easy. Like, I don't even want to talk to you guys like, you just go in and you take this away and you stop that, because we are creatures of habit, and a lot of the time most of our eating is emotional. So you'll take people that are overweight, or they complain about their weight. 9 times out of 10, you're going to see that person go through something or be dealing with something, and then you'll find Snickers bars and all types of carbs and things like that. And this isn't judgmental. It's just like, that's where we go in order for our comfort. If everything else in the world is wrong, we know that we can go get our favorite food, right? That's how it was with hamburgers and fries. Like, shit, I'm stressed out. Like, I'm going to get a hamburger and fries. It's like instant gratification. But we do these things and it's not to our benefit. So I cut those things out because I didn't want to be back in the position that I was. It was very painful. I felt bad. I was tired 9 times out of 10, depressed, like it just thoughts going crazy. And I don't know if most people know, but your stomach is as important as your brain. It's like a secondary brain. Everything that you put into your mouth filters through your stomach. So in order for you to be healthy as a whole, your stomach, your gut bacteria, the flora, all of that has to be in check in order to the rest of your other system organs to function properly. So what I say about compartmentalizing is we have to remember that what we put in our body matters for everything that's inside of us, even your organs. They all have a job to do, but if you're not giving them what they need to do a job, then they're not going to perform as they should. So you think about your daily workday. Most of us have to have computers for our jobs. If you don't have a computer, then you can't perform your job, and you can't make a lot of excuses for that. If you need to run an Excel report and you don't have Excel, you don't even have the computer, then how is the Excel report going to get ran? So you're gonna wing it. You'll start writing some stuff down, making uneven lines, and just like trying to make it work so that your boss doesn't come in there angry, like, why are you not performing? So even that example doesn't make sense, right? So if we are constantly putting things in our body that our body can't break down, then the body's going to deposit it wherever it can, because it's basically a foreign substance. And we know that whenever we get infections, we lose white blood cells because they're fighting off the infection, and that's just how it goes. Your body is very natural. It knows what to do without you telling it what to do. So when you don't give your body water, you're not giving it a chance to flush out what's not in there. Someone told me, and I actually listened to it for a while because that's how naive I was, and I didn't care. Like, I was one of those people that was just like, no, I want good food, and food is food. It doesn't matter. You just, as long as you're satisfied, so you can keep moving on with your day. That mindset is so problematic because you're not taking responsibility for what you're doing. You're just doing stuff, and then when it goes wrong, you're just like, how dare you? So when I started taking care of my body, I actually started feeling better about myself. I felt better when it was time to get out of bed. The depression wasn't as heavy. And so I started writing that down, like tracking that, like, man, So it went from telling myself, like, you can't have this, you can't have that, and being stressed out about, okay, well, what can I have, to me changing my approach to it and saying, okay, I need to add this because I took away that. And I'm going to do more of this day to day than I did of that. And so once you get into a rhythm with that, you get better at compensating. So what I did after I stripped the meat away, because I understood that meat comes with steroids, antibiotics. They inject our meat with a lot of stuff. And so we think that just because we rinse it off and we cook it up, that it's good for us. It'll kill a lot of bacteria. True, you can remove the skin from chicken. There's a lot of things that you can do, but at the end of the day, we have to think about the life cycle of the things that we're putting in our bodies, because I'm a very spiritual person. I believe that everything is everything. If you listen to Lauryn Hill, that's what it is. We're all connected at some level. So if we're eating these cows that have been, put out in fields, they're treated poorly, because other than like the family farm, which still kind of stresses me out because they're like, we love our cow Bob, and then they kill Bob 6 months later for the meat. Strange, but I get it, right? We don't think about the life cycle of the things that we're digesting. And so we put that energy, because that's what it is, food is energy, we put that energy into our bodies, and that's what our bodies are using to sustain us throughout our life. So when I started thinking about it like that, it wasn't like I need to save the chickens and the cows. It was more of like, well, I can't do anything with that sort of energy, because obviously that's what brought me to a point where I was sick. I couldn't function. I could function, but I was not functioning at my highest level. And so that's a problem. You can't live like that your whole life. And so I had posted on Facebook, like, you're not supposed to eat meat 3 times a day. And if you do, then you have to take what comes with it: disease, obesity, and bad attitudes, right? So mad cow disease. When you think about these people that they flip, or they just snap, and so they're all over the place. It's kind of like a roid rage, right? But they say things like mad cow disease, but we never equate the fact that we are adding animals that have been tortured, probably abused, and then they're killed, and they know they're going to die. You might not be like me, where you watch those videos like, oh my God, the cows are going to slaughter. Look at his eyes. He's crying. Like, I stress myself out like that. But, this is the energy that we're putting into our bodies, and you can agree to disagree, but that's just what it is. So, learning about myself, where I come from originally, other than the slave trade and such, I understand that my ancestors before me were plant-based eaters, meaning they ate what came from the earth. And so that's live food. If you go and after this video you cut open a tomato, or you cut open a lemon, or even cut open an apple, you can see a pattern of life in these plants. So the tomato have little veins, and there's little polyps in there, there are little seeds, and it's like you have to think about that like, I'm going to plant a seed in my body so that I can grow, so that I can function and maintain. A lot of the things that we put in our body kind of sit in one general area. So you have your intestines and things that are supposed to flush your system, right? It goes through your kidney, the water goes through your kidneys and flushes those out, and your endocrine system, and then your intestines. But when your body doesn't know what to do with these big pieces of meat that you may or may not be chewing wholly, because you have 1 hour for lunch, it's going to take you 10 minutes to go get the lunch from where you're at. Then you got to scarf it down so you can get back to the job on time. And it's just like we're in such a rush that we're not even really eating to enjoy our food or eating to live from our food. It's like we're just living to eat, and we're in a rush to do it because we have so many other things to do. And so this is to a disadvantage to our body. So when our body's like, okay, Bob is up, it's time to go, he's about to eat bacon and eggs and all this other stuff for breakfast. Like, there's no color in his breakfast, right? If you get some oatmeal in him, that's great. That's lots of fiber. Your body needs that. But for the rest of the day, or until it's time for Bob to go scarf down lunch, the body's like throwing stuff wherever it can. This is why you'll see a lot of men, even if they're fairly active, the midsection is just, there's like this bundle in there. That's what I call it. This little bundle in the midsection. This is literally your body trying to keep up with what you're putting in it, because it's not a natural flow. How many of you moms refuse to put grease down your drain? You just don't do it. Like, if you fried something and there's some grease, like, you find any other way to dispose of it, but you're not putting it down the kitchen sink. You should feel the same way about your body, because essentially your body is a draining system. You're going to put it in the chute, and it's going to flush it through. The easier the things that you put down there can go out, the better off you'll be. And that's so you don't get plumber bills. You don't have to go and repeatedly buy Drano all the time. So your Drano is like your medication, right? You're like, oh, doc, I feel bad. I keep putting stuff in my body that's giving me heartburn. And instead of us saying like, well, what is it that may have triggered that? What is it that I ate? We make a joke out of it. And we're like, oh, it's just heartburn. I'll pop a couple of Rolaids or Tums or whatever, and then I'll make do with it. Well, then we're putting these more foreign objects in the form of medication in our body, and then our body's like, oh, great. So we just ate something spicy. We got to figure out what to do with this hot ass chicken he just put in here. Then he's putting this powdery substance in there. We literally don't give our bodies a break. And so by the time we're in our 50s and 60s, and for some of us, our 30s, we're experiencing these attacks coming back from our body like, yo, you're doing stuff that I don't know what to do with. And so now I'm going to start fighting you, essentially. I'm going to start attacking myself because I don't know what else to do with what it is that you're giving me. So even skinny people or fit people, you'll see these people that they look perfect on the outside. I'm telling you now, there are some people out here that have some pristine physiques and their inside is trash. I guarantee you. So even the more that I've been able to clean up my eating, there's this weird thing. Like, people come around me and I'm like, they smell like meat. Like they smell like meat. And so I'm just like, I wonder if there was a time where my just natural scent was off because of what I ate and what my body was comprised of. And so that's, you know, the heavy perfumes and the colognes, and everyone's pretty much in the same condition. So we don't really take ourselves outside of that until we're on the other side of it. And so things that I did in order to get better with my body, so that we could be friends, was I started to add more color. That was my start. So instead of me being like, oh, I can't eat this and I can't eat that, that was really stressful, always telling yourself what you can't do. And it's bad for your mentality as well. So you want to be healthy spiritually, you want to be healthy mentally, and you want to be healthy physically. So I don't want my message today so much to be as what you can't or you should not be eating, even though I'm going to say that sometimes, but I want you to focus in on what you can do. Add more color to your food. Try to eat fruits in the morning, like when you first get up, instead of like hammering down on the bacon and the eggs and all that. Try to grab you a blend of strawberries and blueberries, because what that does for you is, if you drink some water, maybe a full bottle or a glass of water, and then you eat some fruits in the morning, that gets your body prepped and moisturized, right, for whatever else that you're going to eat throughout the day, so that your system can proper functionally and push everything out. Because there are some pretty girls that are like, I don't poo and I don't do this stuff. Like, you have to shit. You have to. That's how you get rid of toxins. So you need to poo. If you're not pooing once a day, people, there is an issue. It may not be a big issue, but you definitely want to lubricate your insides. You want to get more water intake. You want to get your fruits and vegetables up, your fiber. And so at least once a day at bare minimum, you need to have a bowel movement. And that's just because your body needs to push out the bad things, or you're going to get that little bundle in the midsection. And that's just the reality of it. A lot of you are probably like, this skinny bitch. But that's definitely not where it's coming from. I'm just telling you, you have to serve your body a higher purpose. You have to give your body good things in order for it to function at its highest level. And it's difficult because it's a mind thing. So if you tell yourself what you can do, and you look at the fruits and vegetables that you do like, and figure out how to keep them in your home all the time, as often as you can. So after I started adding more colors to what I was eating, and I took it a step further, and I'm like, okay, well, now that I'm better with salads, right? Most people will tell me, oh, you're eating another salad. But it's like, you look at it as, I'm trying to be on a diet, or I'm trying to limit what I'm eating. But that's not the case, because I can make a really good salad, by the way. I will add walnuts, pecans, strawberries, blueberries. There's so many toppings that you can add to a bed of lettuce, not romaine right now, because obviously there's a situation going on with that. But go in, even a bed of kale, like go in and get some kale, a lot of greens as a base, and then just get creative with it. There's sunflower seeds that you can go and get, and like I said, the walnuts and pecans, and just get really creative. Cut up your carrots, fresh carrots. I try to stay as organic as possible. I try not to get things that are in the plastic bags, because I understand, like, if plastic reaches a certain temperature, by default, it's going to turn into like a chemical, basically. That's what it's all made of. So I'm more discerning in the packaging and everything like that. But I'm also a couple of years into this. But what I'm trying to push today is be mindful of what it is that you're putting in your body, because it does matter. So add more colors. And then once you're comfortable with more colors, make the challenge to replace one meal a day with a really healthy salad. And don't underestimate the salad, because you can get full. Now, I've let my eyes deceive me before. I make a big ass salad, and then I have to force myself to finish it, because I'm like, man, this is a lot more fulfilling than I thought it was going to be. So when you get good at it, things like that happen. And like I said, if you can't get away from meat for whatever reason, try to go as organic as possible. And of course, they're going to make these options a little more expensive, but I do think that if it's worth it to you to buy makeup and the get skinny quick schemes and things like that, it's definitely worth it to go and spend some time in the grocery store and try to get the healthiest products that you can for your body. Because at the end of the day, your body is a temple. And we look at that as far as religious terms. And for the religious term, I still haven't understood it, except for people that like won't get tattoos, and obviously I didn't go that route because I have a couple of tattoos, but I really live in the fact that my body is a temple, and my body can only do for me what I'm willing to do for it. So if I give it good things, it's going to give me good results. I can pop out of the bed most of the time unless I don't sleep because I'm up writing all night, but for the most part, I really feel good about myself. I have posted a blend of kale and mustard greens and red onions, and I said that that was my flu shot. I say that because greens have a lot of chlorophyll in them, and it's just really like a kick boost for your immune system. So you want to put that stuff in there because they go in and they like zap out all the bad stuff, and when you excrete it, then all of it's out of you. Not all of it, because even when you go from leaving your house and by the time you get to your job, you probably breathe in so much stuff just because of the environment and what's in the air, that you can't just be 100% pure. Even when you shower, I don't care how long somebody stays in the shower, a person that cleans their body one time is no cleaner than the person that stays in there 30 minutes scrubbing for 7 cycles. Like, you're going to only pull so much dirt from your body, and that's just a fact. I'm not going to argue about it. I like long showers, so don't get me wrong, but I know that after the first round, I'm not going to get any cleaner if I decide to do it 2 or 3 more times. It's just satisfying for me. That's my ritual. So you have to think about things like that. There should be limitations and boundaries and moderation to what you're eating and what you're putting in your body. I have some people that I love that have suffered from autoimmune diseases, and it's not fun when your body is attacking you. Like I said, you wake up, you don't know what's going on. I haven't had that level of pain or misunderstanding with my body, but I could definitely sympathize with them because I get it. Not being able to get out of bed and not understanding why just a couple of days ago my body was functioning just fine. But what we don't take into account every day is that this is a buildup, and we'll get little warnings, lightheadedness or a sharp pain somewhere, and it'll go away, and so we're like, all right, cool, I'm just going to keep going with my day. These are warning signals that our body gives us, and we ignore them because we're so busy taking care of everything else that we're not taking care of our bodies, and we forget that if our body's not good, then nothing else happens. And so we lose people at a higher rate at an earlier age because of the things that we're eating. That's what we all have in common, is food. So cancer doesn't discriminate, right? So you can say diabetes is higher in the Black community, right? Black people love sugar. We love sugar. Let me tell you, Bow Wow had a song when I was young. It was called Ghetto Girls, and it's talking about whom they made bomb Kool-Aid. And I remember, like, we used to have these little competitions where we're like, who has the best Kool-Aid? And I felt so proud because one day somebody's like, Andrea, make some good Kool-Aid, and I was like, yes. But now, like, thinking back, I'm like, oh my God, we use so much sugar. But that was our emotion, right? So most of the time, it's not like we were just in dietary constraints, we didn't have shoes, but it's like we didn't have a lot to do in our neighborhoods. It's like we were just constantly trying to find weird shit to get into, and then when we were thirsty from playing, as long as one mom wasn't going to cuss us out for running in and out, somebody made some Kool-Aid so we could have something to drink. And it's just like those little satisfactions that carry on with you. I haven't had Kool-Aid since college, but I just remember making sure it tasted sweet. And so that's another thing with the emotional eating. We find things that will make us feel good, and most of the time food is the quickest fix for our emotions. That doesn't mean that it's good for us, but that's what we do. So I had to figure it out for myself, and what I learned in my research and overanalyzing and overthinking was that I was putting too much sugar in my system, and therefore what my body was excreting was just a whole bunch of discarded sugar, and didn't always smell friendly. And it's just like, wait a minute, I'm a pretty clean person and I'm not dirty, and again, I'm not sexually active, so how does this keep happening? So when I started changing my eating habits, that got so much better. Like, just, even my natural scent now, like I mentioned that earlier, it's like, if it's so much lighter, and we're humans, we all stink. Like, we have to shit. You need to shit once a day. I just said this, but it's like, in general, you should normally keep a satisfactory smell unless you've worked hard or it's the end of the day. So that was off-putting for me. And so going to my doctor didn't help. I can definitely say with all my might that my doctor did not help me with that situation at all. She kept trying to make it some general diagnosis, and that wasn't the case. Even when she gave me the antibiotics for this, because they do have it, like I said, a lot of women are going to understand this. They give you the Flagyl, and then you take the Flagyl, and then like, oh shit, here we go. Now I have a yeast infection because all of my cells and molecules in there are all thrown off. So you start this bout of one antibiotic so that you can get another antibiotic, and it's self-defeating. And that leads to confusion as well, because I remember thinking like, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to talk to anybody because this is not me and I don't know what the hell is going on. But there's things that you can do. Like I said, message me because I can definitely give you more details, but I'm not a doctor, so y'all are not going to get me on camera trying to solve your ailments. But at the end of the day, if you're dealing with this issue, make yourself a warm bath of water. Clean the tub out. Please don't get in a dirty tub. That's weird in general, but clean the tub out. Rinse out the chemicals if you use a mean green or scrubbing, whatever. Just get your bathtub as clean as you can and run you a warm bath with some apple cider vinegar with the mother. And what that does is it pulls toxins from your body. This is not a remedy. And if you're going to be that person that thinks that you can just do weird shit and then just go sit in some apple cider vinegar, what's going to happen is your body's going to get used to it, and then you're going to be back at square A, and then you don't even have that remedy. So you have to clean up what you're eating. You have to lower your sugar intake, because that's basically what it is your body's getting an imbalance and your pH is off. And so you don't need to be embarrassed by this. If you're seeing somebody that can't understand that you're a woman and things happen because you have to sit on an open wound, like that person's pretty childish, and instead of them being supportive, they're making you feel worse about it. You probably need to change what you're eating, change who you're dating too. And so there's things like this that we go through and that we're putting in our body, and then our body is reacting to that. That's all natural. So what the best thing that you can do for yourself is be better to yourself. Lots of colorful foods. I'm not trying to tell you to just change your whole life today, because like I said, I get it. And there was lots of times that I knew what I was eating was bad for me, but I didn't have time to change how I was eating. I didn't have time to focus on a new meal plan. I'm still not the best at meal prepping and things like that. I am coming into cooking more vegan meals, and I say vegan lightly because I'm a focused eater. That's what I call it. I'm focused on what it is that I'm putting in my body. So I'll have seafood maybe once or twice a week depending on what's going on, and then other than that, it's mostly salads, pastas, things that I can add color to really easily. I've gotten really good with this chili, bean chili, and I'm proud of that. That's like my go-to meal. So I'm all about cilantros and baking asparagus and just being really creative what it is that I'm eating. So, and to shine a light on myself so that you don't think I'm like all powerful, I still have a hard time letting go of cheese. I really love Mexican food, so I can go and get a fajita, like a veggie fajita or a spinach quesadilla or anything like that, because I'm single, and so it's hard. I find it hard to keep a lot of food in my house because 9 times out of 10 it goes to waste because I'm always moving around, or if I come home late, like I'm not going to cook, so I have to source out these places that will give me quick meals that are really healthy, like Pernell bread. I go there a lot because I know that I can get like a base meal that's really colorful and without the meat and still be satisfied. So I'm really creative in that respect. But you people with families, it will be a lot easier. And especially when you have kids, if you teach them this early, then we don't have to keep the legacy of, well, this is just what our family goes through. It's kind of like, well, if you look at the patterns, like what your family eats, how they eat it, how they prep it, that's all a compilation of where you are as a family health-wise too. And so it's like not a cop-out, but it's like an excuse to say, well, this is just what happens to our family. Like, this doesn't have to be what happens to your family. And so I kind of pride myself on being the person that's willing to take the risk and, walk the line for my family, because now my mom and my nephew, you know, they're like, hey, we ate a salad for lunch today. And that makes me really happy, because I'm like, I know that they're not going to be perfect. I'm not perfect, but it's the attempt to do better to yourself so that you can be a more whole person, more happily functioning person. And so when you start putting good things in your body, that's when you start feeling better inside your body, because it all starts on the inside, right? Your happiness starts on the inside. Your health starts on the inside. Your mental wellness starts on the inside. So it would be beautiful to see people that have like the makeup videos, but then the people that show you like how they actually get themselves ready to have a full day of healthy eating. Whether you eat the chicken or not, I really just encourage you to have more color in your appetite than what you have anything else, because regardless of what the USDA has told you and the government has told you is healthy for you and what your plate portion should look like, really it's all about getting some good fruits and veggies in your system. And if you're really feeling extra hungry or emotional that day, eat some fried chicken. That's cool. Like, I really don't want to judge you. I just want to help you. And if I have to tell you something that's going to hurt initially, well, it's all for the better. So, no, you don't have to go get eggplant. Most of you have never eaten an eggplant. You've only sent it in inappropriate text messages. But they actually have an eggplant parmesan that is so good. And it's one of the things that I'm trying to prep myself mentally to make it home. I'm not there yet, but I do order it from little Italian restaurants, and it's really good. And so, like I said, you don't have to be this perfect person with your eating regimen, because yes, we are all going to die. That's just the fact of life. But it's a lot better if we live to 80 or 90 or 100 years old, that we're not bent over in a chair hoping that we were nice enough to our kids that they'll be nice to us, because we can't freaking move because we ate too many chickens. So just clean it up. Add some color to your life. Add some color to your plate. And enjoy the rest of everything that you have going. So that's what I have today. Hopefully you guys can get some Google search points to start from. And like I said, if you are following me on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, that information is below. If you follow me there, send me a DM, because I really love to help people. I really love talking about my experience and going into depth about the things that I tried. And obviously I'm not afraid to share that type of information with you, because nothing that I've put in my body to help myself recover was medical or like medicine or anything like that. It was literally the foods that I ate. So like okra. Okra is amazing for your gardens, ladies. I'm telling you right now. My sister hates okra. She's just like, every time I think about it, I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, I love okra. When I found out that okra actually helps lubricate you, and it's like, wow, like, this is pretty dope. Some organic cranberry juice keeps your flavors right. I'm just telling you guys the facts of life. Like, most of us are adults here, so I'm telling you that you got to shit once a day. But once you clean all that up, if you got a lover and you're drinking about a cup of cranberry juice every day, it'll taste better. And that's men and women, right? So I get it. We all have sex. Have a good time with it. So I have more stuff like that. If you want it, just let me know. But like I said, keep it colorful. Have a good rest of the day, guys. Thanks for tuning in.